right, it is time to huddle up. Bob Slovak here with the Consummate Pro. He's Jason Alexander. We're ready to rock and roll, Jason.
Unbelievable day to huddle up. What a lot of football to recap from the past weekend, Bob. Big games coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Can't wait to dive into all this. The Rockets, 2 wins. We're ticking off. We're halfway home for the season win total. I'm so excited.
The Pro went 4-2 because all the favorites took care of
The favorites went 5-1 on the pros picks. We missed a couple. Obviously, the Cowboys we'll dive into a little bit, and then Arizona just didn't show up in L.A. on Monday night. But we had 4 wins, winning weekend, and we're looking to get 4-0. Pick 4 more winners this weekend.
Yeah, and I survived the half marathon. We're going to get to that.
Absolutely.
Here we go. It'll be part of our headlines. Let's start with the big headline. It's the Texans. They get rid of David Culley after 1 year. Not really fair, but I can see the thought process, what Casario's thinking.
I think you have to understand the situation and what's coming up. And look, the Texans didn't have any draft picks this year. I think Culley keeps his job.
Yeah.
But look, they want a new coach to come in, be a part of all these picks, rebuilding the franchise and start from ground level. And look, David Culley gets a nice payout. Maybe he can take a year off, go to Florida, and put his feet in the sand a little bit because he did a wonderful job this year. And we mentioned later, look, he had the same win total as they did the prior year with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He did it with a rookie and Tyrod Taylor with no running game at all. So good job by Coach Culley.
And Davis Mills really, really progressed.
I thought he brought him along beautifully.
Yeah, he certainly did. So you got Brian Flores, Joe Lombardi, Jonathan Gannon, the DC over at the Eagles, Jared Mayo with the Patriots. They're interviewing a lot of people.
They're interviewing a lot of people, which I think is good, and maybe one of them will pop. I mean, right now I like Brian Flores a lot. I like Joe Lombardi. D'Amico Ryans was the one that I wish. I don't think he's ready yet, but one of those 3 guys I think would be a great leader for the franchise moving forward, but it's going to be a big hire.
That's what we're going to keep an eye on. Dallas Cowboys debacle was just man, it was just embarrassing to watch. First of all, you're not going to win any playoff games if your star players don't show up. Dak didn't show up. Zeke didn't show up. CD only had 1 or 2 catches. If you don't show up, you're not going to win.
You're not. They scored the number 1 offense in the NFL on paper, scored 7 points in 3 quarters at home in perfect conditions, perfect weather, home crowd. It was very difficult to watch, Bob, and I tell you, the big thing with Mike McCarthy talked in his postgame press conference and said, boy, I thought the refs would let him play. Well, let me tell you something, Coach. When you jump off sides, when you have false starts, and you physically bear hug tackle offensive linemen, they have to call those. I thought the refs did let him play. Dallas just didn't show up. Too many mental mistakes. It's been talked about in social media all week, but just a really disappointing ball game for a Cowboys fan.
14 penalties in all, and then those 14 seconds at the end of the game. And I mentioned this a while ago. I go, even in Pee Wee football, you hand the ball to the ref to spot the ball. You don't spot the ball.
Absolutely.
And yet they try.
Oh, I'd have loved if they get up there, have a second left. I'd have loved to see a quick snap and see if you can catch San Francisco. But you got to get one throw to the end zone. You have to figure out a way to slide earlier, do what you have to. You got to get one shot at the end zone. But they've got all off season to think about it.
I certainly do. We're going to talk more about that with ABC 13 Sports Director Greg Bailey. He's going to be joining us here in a little bit here on Huddle Up. All right, your Rockets up to 13 wins, halfway home.
Woo! We're halfway home to the 26th, the magic number. And hey, look, if we can play Sacramento every game, I like my odds a lot better. 2 wins against the Kings. But look, the Rockets had a good week of playing basketball. They played hard. Defensively looked a little bit better, a little bit. So we're going to see if we can just tick them off every now and again. We don't have to win them all, Bob. We just got to win about half.
Eric Gordon, who's going to be on the trading block, but he's really upped his game.
He has. He's the go-to guy on the team. You can see his veteran leadership. We're going to hate to lose him, but if we can get a couple draft picks and build towards the future, we want to see Flash Gordon go to a contender, see if he can chase a ring.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on that win total as we go along, and I have a feeling we're going to come down to the last week of the season.
I do too.
All right, hey, I had the pleasure of running the Aramco Half Marathon that was run along with the Chevron Houston Marathon. First time I ever ran it.
Justin, do we have a picture of Bob?
Can
we please show a picture of Bob?
I had that bushy beard going. I dyed it purple for my mom. It was her favorite color. She passed last year, so I ran for her. She helped me because I'm going to tell you, this old body here, the pounding was getting to me those last 3 miles. So
Bob, I can't run down the street. I can't believe you made it.
I made it in 2:40. Had I not had to walk a little bit, I was looking at 2:30. That'll be my goal if I get back out there next year. But it was fun just to see the people, just to see the families, the everyday citizens cheering us on, and that kept me going those last few times because you have your name on your bib.
Absolutely.
I had so many people going, "Hey, I love your purple beard," So it was a blast. It was a blast.
We got to come out there and watch. I want to sit there with one of the guys serving beer next year. I'll be better at cheering people on.
They were serving beer. I drank my share of water and Gatorade, but toward the end there, I had a couple of good beers along the way to keep me going. Fun stuff, man. Look forward to doing it again next year. All right, we're going to take a break here. Be back with ABC 13 Sports Director Greg Bailey. He's going to delve into the Texans and let us know his thoughts on what's going on over there. We'll be right back.
All right, team, your favorite pro here reporting live from the club. Now, look, in order to hit a pure golf shot, we have to do three things. We have to assess, strategize, and execute. And I'm going to tell you, the same three things apply if you're in the market for a loan. Woo! And after absolutely piping one, lucky for us, we have Jake Snortland here to tell us more about it.
Thanks, Jason. That is correct. Here at Triumph Lending, we assess, strategize, and execute in getting our borrowers the best deals possible. So feel free to give me a call. My number is 832-639-1455. And no matter if you're looking to purchase a home or refinance your current mortgage, I can get you the best deal out there today.
That's the golden trifecta for Triumph Lending. Give them a call today.
All right, joining us here on Huddle Up today, my good friend from ABC 13 Sports Director Greg Bailey. Greg, good to have you with us.
Bob, it's great to see you, man. Beard and all. You're looking quite distinguished these days, buddy.
Trying to keep it sharp. Jason Alexander is with us here. Greg, let's just dive into this. Fair or not, David Culley getting let go by the Texans. What's your impression?
Not fair for David Culley. It was clearly a massive rebuilding situation. I thought he actually exceeded the talent that he had on the roster when you toss in the fact that Davis Mills was a rookie with precious little college starting experience, much less NFL experience. I thought they did a great job bringing Mills along. His play towards the end, particularly the game where they beat the Chargers and essentially kept them out of the postseason, I thought that alone merited a return. But once they got behind closed doors, there were clearly I think there really were those philosophical differences. How are we going to approach this going forward? What are we going to do day by day inside the walls of the organization? David Culley's a super guy. I thought he deserved a second year, but that's not really what it's about. The bottom line is Nick Caserio's running that show in the front office. He wanted to make a change, and so here we are.
You know what? And my thought is, Jason, real quick, my thought on the whole thing, Greg, is that they're anticipating having more draft picks than they have right now. And my thought is that they want to get the head coach in to have his input on who they pick.
I think that's a great point, and I think that's very true. And I think, quite frankly, it's a much more attractive situation than a lot of people give it credit for. Because once you trade away Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's any question that barring some unforeseen legal setback, that's going to happen. You're going to get a huge bounty of draft picks. And then your coach can have input on what he's looking for and what he wants. I don't think you want a coach who is demanding any kind of final say on his roster. We've been down that road. There's no reason to do it again. And I think, quite frankly, that's Nick Caserio's strength. I thought he made a lot of nice additions to that roster this year, even if they're not long-term additions. He proved to fans with guys like Kamu, Grugier, Hill, and down the line that he can go find talent for this roster. So it's a great point, Bob. That new coach will have input, and I think that's a nice situation for somebody going forward.
And I couldn't agree with you guys more. And I think for David Culley, you talk about hanging your hat on something. They won the same amount of games with Deshaun Watson the prior year with no running game and no defensive or offensive line. So if Coach Culley wants to keep going, there's going to be a spot for him on some NFL team. And he got a pretty good little payout, too. So I think he did a wonderful job for the year he was in charge.
Definitely. Greg, what was the high point for you? I mean, the four victories, but, they had some flash.
They absolutely had flash. The easy high point for me is the development of Davis Mills. From where he was as a rookie that had no clue to start the season to what you saw at the end of the season, particularly for me, the Chargers game, he was outstanding. And then maybe even more impressive in the second half of the game against the Titans, a Tennessee team that is scratching and clawing to try to lock up that number one seed. Davis Mills essentially runs the offense himself for the entire second half and really gets after that Tennessee defense. I thought that was really almost mind-blowing to me that Tim Kelly could be communicating with him through the headset, and then he essentially is running everything at the line of scrimmage. That was one of the questions I asked Nico Collins after that game. Take us inside the huddle. What's going on there in that second half? Essentially, Davis Mills is calling personnel groupings. He's calling protections at the line of scrimmage. He's calling route trees to his receivers. That is unbelievable to me that a rookie can do that. Even at the tail end of his first year in the NFL, I was really blown away with Davis Mills and that development.
He's a Stanford guy.
Absolutely. We talked to Vandermeer about this last week, Greg, and I tell you, if his name's Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, this is a no-brainer that he's going to get a shot next year in 2022. So let's all hope he does, because he has definitely earned it.
I agree with that 100%.
All right, so let's throw out some names to you. The folks they've already been talking to: Brian Flores, Joe Lombardi, Hines Ward. I got a story about Hines Ward. Jonathan Gannon, Jared Mayo seemed to be hot for a while.
Byron Leftwich is on the list as well.
What do you think, Greg? I mean, they all seem to have pluses. I'm not sure who's going to get the call though.
Here's my number one criteria for the Texans' next head coach. What kind of experience do you bring outside of the Patriots organization? It's all too tempting to try to replicate what has happened in New England. You're not going to do it. There's an extensive track record of Patriots assistants under Belichick who have tried and failed. What kind of experience do you bring outside of the Patriots organization? What we talked about last night, Jonathan Gannon, 39 years old. He's already been inside 6 NFL organizations. Yeah. Is he already at the finish line? Is he a finished product to be an NFL head coach? No, but I love the fact that the Texans are talking to people who have that experience. And another criteria that I would add for my own personal file, I want somebody who's going to walk through that door and challenge Nick Caserio to think about new ideas and perhaps new ways of doing business.
There you go.
And we'd have to say, Greg, we're embarking on arguably this coming year and the following year, the most important 2 years for the next 12 years of the franchise.
That's absolutely right. For my way of thinking, with what Nick Caserio has proven, his ability to identify players to add to the roster at a reasonable cost, I think it's perfectly reasonable to accept the new coach comes in 22 as a transition year. And then by 23, you're at least playing meaningful games as you come down the stretch in December of the schedule to at least quote unquote challenge for a playoff spot. I think with the draft picks that you're going to get from Deshaun Watson, with Caserio's proven track record here to identify talent to add to the roster, I think that is perfectly reasonable.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Definitely. He's not going to get a call here with the Texans, but he'll get a call someday to be a head coach. But D'Amico Ryans, man, it would be great to see D'Amico come back here to Houston where he played so many years. He's doing a fabulous job with the 49ers.
He's a great guy, too.
I love covering the guy. So wouldn't that be cool, Greg, if D'Amico ended up here one day?
It would be awesome. Yeah. It would be awesome. It's amazing to me, Bob. I missed his tenure here. But, man, when I got here, everybody talked about D'Amico Ryans, awesome. What a leader he was, what a presence he was inside that locker room, just on and on. And you see that play out with his work with San Francisco, not just a leader of men, but, Bob, the scheme, the way that they played the Cowboys. I thought they confused the Cowboys at times. I thought they got after the Cowboys physically from start to finish from a defensive standpoint. All of that should at least merit some type of consideration from the Texans.
Yeah, down the road for sure.
Well, speaking of the Niners, before we jump into the Rockets, I can't wait to jump into the Rockets. Greg, I got to ask you, big weekend of football coming up. Do you have any favorites that you're looking at this week? Do the Niners have a chance at Lambeau Saturday night prime time going into a big hostile environment?
I think they absolutely have a chance, but you have to avoid the moment from Jimmy Garoppolo that we saw at the end of the game from Dallas, where inexplicably he just throws it up and suddenly the Cowboys are back in that game. You just have to avoid that. I think Garoppolo is a much better quarterback as long as he avoids that than people give him credit for. But the gap between him and Aaron Rodgers is immense, and for somehow Niners are going to have to overcome that to even have a chance. And by the way, they're talking about temperatures or wind chills around 0 with a chance of snow at Lambeau. I can't wait how that unfolds.
And I have to be honest with you, if the Niners would have run off the field at halftime, I think they'd have had a better chance at upsetting the Packers. I think they lost a lot of momentum in the second half of that Cowboys game. That was a horrendously bad throw from Garoppolo. We'll see how he recovers from that, because they're going to have to play a perfect ball game to compete with A-Rod and the Pack.
Greg, will the Cowboys ever recover from that debacle at the end of the game? That was I'm sitting there going, that is an embarrassment. And I was talking to my brother yesterday, Greg, and I said, even in Pee Wee football, you have to give the ball back to the referee to spot it.
Yeah,
spot the old ball.
You do, and we can kind of peel back the curtain on this. Back when I covered the Seahawks, when Mike Holmgren was the coach there, they would let us watch practice from start to finish, and they practiced that. It's not like that's some kind of unforeseen attention to detail. That's been practiced in the NFL for years. When we get in the 2-minute drill, you have to get the ball to the official so they can spot it. We can either spike it or move on as the clock winds down. The fact that wasn't done is mind-blowing to me. You can argue, should Prescott have slid earlier? Fine.
Yeah.
But he has to find the official, hand him the ball, and I truly believe if he hands him the ball, they get a spike, and they're going to send 5 deep from the 30-yard line, for instance, and at that point, you actually have a chance to pull off the mirror.
Greg, what I don't understand, I thought the play call, a lot of people in the media didn't like the play call, the quarterback draw. I thought it was genius, but they needed to snap it and go. I'm telling you, the Niners would have been caught off guard if Dak got up there, gave it to the ref, snap it, and have the next play ready to go. That should have been practiced, but I think you could have caught San Fran sleeping a little bit or made him call a timeout. Yeah. But the way that unfolded there in the last second, super disappointing not to at least get one crack at the end zone.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
You're right. It can be devastating when the defense thinks you're going to spike it, and you just go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think they'd have had a shot.
Could have happened. All right, let's shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Rockets. 13, yes. The number's up to 13. He's got a bet on the over. 26 is the over for wins. We're up to 13
Greg,
now.
We're halfway home here for the season win total. Everybody around town knows about this big bet I put in before the season started. What are your thoughts here? We clipped off 2. If we can play Sacramento another 10 times, I'd really like that.
I don't know. What do you think,
You're
Greg?
going to be sweating that out to the very end of the season, I think.
I think so, too.
I think he is.
They are so committed to player development.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway for the Rockets is I continue to be blown away by Steven Silas. The whole Kevin Porter issue when he bolted at halftime, Christian Wood doesn't want to come back in the game. The way Silas handled that, I thought was just tremendous. Hey, I've got to hold these guys accountable. Doesn't mean that we still don't love them. Doesn't mean that we're not all going to go forward together. I really hope he gets a chance to see some of the fruits of the rebuild because, again, I think he has done a tremendous job with a young roster that's moving in a lot of different directions.
I agree with you, and I tell you what I think is going to happen. It's funny here over the next couple of years. I think you're going to see the Rockets and Texans on the climb here in 2 years, and we'll see where the Stros go. But it's going to be a little bit of a change of landscape here in the city of Houston for our sports teams over the next 2-3 years.
We're going to be keeping an eye on that win total every single
26,
week.
Greg. Come on, can we get it? I'll take a push.
Oh my God, yeah, he'll take a push all day long. All right, college basketball. Greg, I saw you tweeted out about Kelvin Sampson and what he's doing out there with all the injuries and players out is just truly remarkable how he's keeping this together and keeping them rolling, really.
I can't believe it. And I don't mean that as any kind of a slight to Kelvin Sampson. I think he's a top 5 coach in the country, but the idea that you lose Marcus Sasser, Tremont Mark, Kyler Edwards has battled an ankle injury. Now Jamal Shedd has an ankle injury. They truly can't practice 5-on-5. They can't do it. They don't have enough healthy bodies in the backcourt, and yet somehow, some way, Bob, you'll appreciate this. Kyler Edwards comes out after they lose all those guys. They go on the road. They claw and scratch to win a game. And, man, I got goosebumps. He came on the post-game interview and said, we're still the University of Houston. We're still the Cougars, and we still have Coach Sampson. And, man, I'm telling you, you want to talk about just a galvanizing thought and a statement.
Sure.
That we are the U of H. We expect to win every time out, no matter who puts on the uniform. I couldn't just say enough about that on the news, and it's stuck with me ever since. And the fact that Edwards goes out last weekend, 29 points when they have to have it. He comes back last night. I think he had 23 more. Wow. It's unbelievable to me what Kelvin Sampson has done with the program. It's not a team. It's a program.
And I'm telling you, back to the days when he's yelling at the students to try to get him in the game with the megaphone. What he's built, it's spectacular. Is the best adjective I could say.
Yeah, they're short-handed, man, but it is going to be a fun March. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is, and they continue. People, I don't see near the national attention. I would love a little bit more national attention on a top 10 team that's lost that much.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We'll keep an eye on them down the stretch here.
Can I share one quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Greg, you'll appreciate this. I had Coach Sampson on my golf show. He was out at the club. This is a few months ago. One of the best things he said, what's the best advice you ever received about coaching? He said, if you listen to the people sitting behind you, you'll be sitting there with them. And I love that.
And he is exactly right.
That is so true, so true. All right, Greg, you had the honor of being the one of the commentators on the Chevron Houston Marathon on Sunday. Your impressions of that? I actually ran the half marathon. I loved the experience. First time I got to do that. What were your thoughts?
Finished.
Yeah, I finished.
Yeah. First of all, Bob, a sincere congratulations for getting out there and doing it. I think it's amazing, and it was a cold day. I don't have to tell you, man.
Yeah.
But the fact that so many people inside the running community recognize Houston as a world-class event, and on top of that, a place where if you do it right, you can come and set records.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to what they have built from the Chevron Houston Marathon. I love the old piece. 113 runners back in 72, and yet here we are 52 years later. They come by the thousands. And then on top of that, Bob, man, watching the ABC 13 broadcast throughout the years, you were a part of it for so many years. These emotional tributes, these emotional stories that people bring to the Chevron Houston Marathon, the Aramco Half Marathon, it's awesome. It's this incredible blend of world-class competition and yet at the same time, this incredible community event. I mean, hats off to everybody who organizes that thing. It is unbelievable, and it was a ton of fun to be a part of.
It was awesome. Like I said, I told you before we started, I go, there were 25,000 runners there, and I was toward the back. It was just a sea of humanity going to that start line. It took me 45 minutes just to get to the start line. But and you could feel the energy building in the corral that I was in. Let's go. And then we got there and everybody just took off. It was quite an experience. I was running for my mom. I dyed my beard purple. I saw a number of people out there running for different people and stuff. It was awesome. It was awesome.
No, Bob, congratulations to you, and that's a beautiful tribute to your mom, man. It really is.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right, Greg, man, thank you so much for joining us here on Huddle Up. What do you got coming up next there at ABC 13?
You know what, Bob? We've jumped into high school basketball, which is unbelievable here in Houston. Yeah. I almost feel like at this point it's a well-kept secret because we spend so much time talking about football and everybody understands it's the best in the country. We're really trying to ramp up our high school basketball coverage. That'll keep us busy. And then, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on Carlos Correa after he moved Scott Boras. What do you think he's looking for there? Maybe 10 years, $340 million if Seager got 323. Yeah. That's going to be amazing to me. That's one to follow because the potential pool of teams that are willing to write that kind of a check that may be shrinking. So it's going to be interesting to see where Carlos ends up. That'll be a big ticket item for us.
We'll be keeping an eye on it.
Greg, last question for you here from the pro. I hate to put you on the spot here. I got to get a Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to play in the big game?
If I had to pick right now, I would go with Kansas City and Green Bay. But I also feel like perhaps as much as any other year, the favorites have flaws. So the Titans as a number one seed, to me, they got some obvious flaws, and it's defensively. I think you can get after that secondary a little bit. So that'll be my pick. I'll go old school, back to the old days of the Super Bowl. We'll go Packers and Chiefs and see what happens.
I love it.
I love it too. All right, Greg Bailey from ABC 13. Greg, thank you so much for joining us here on Huddle Up, man. You take care. We'll see you again.
You guys, man, great job.
All right, we'll be back with more Huddle Up right after this.
Okay, team, look, calling a 20-second timeout to give you a hot take from the consummate pro on why everybody needs their own private golf cart, whether it's cruising around the neighborhood with a beverage of choice, living in a gated community, a vacation home, the golf course, and at the end of the day, chicks just dig it. Come down to Conroe Golf Cars, and oh my goodness, look here, we've got City Councilman Kurt Maddox here to tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, hey, Jason, my fellow lumberjack. Hey, not only am I the city councilman, also VP of Conroe Golf Cars. We've been here since 1974 and glad to have you. We sell them, we rent them, we build them. So we can do whatever you want. Everybody walks in here and says, hey, let me see your new car or your used car product. I said, well, these are all our used cars. So we start from the ground up, Jason. We take the cars in on trade, clean them up, put new batteries, lift them, do whatever. We call it a little cocktail cart, or just a fun cart, recreational cart. So you can either buy it, rent it, or do whatever you want.
Kurt, I love it, and I'm going to tell you what. Listen to Kurt Maddox and the Consummate Pro. Come out and visit us here at Conroe Golf Cars today.
All right, we're back here on Huddle Up. Bob Slovak along with the Consummate Pro, Jason Alexander. It is time for the pros picks, Jason.
Oh, baby, Bob, look, we're still on a heat check. I'm telling you, 4-2, not bad in the wild card round. I've got 4 winners for this weekend, 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. We'll tie a little bow on Sunday evening, put a little money in our pocket.
Man, last weekend was great. I think this weekend may even be better. So the Titans, who had a bye last weekend, hosting the Bengals. Titans giving 3.5. You like Tennessee?
I do, and this is an emotional pick. This is a strictly financial pick.
Man.
I've got to put my emotions to the side because I love Joe Burrow.
I love him
We
too.
have the Cincinnati Bengals. We've ridden pretty hard all year. I love their squad. I just think they're a year away. I'm worried the moment's going to be a little too big for them, and I really do hate to say that. We got a fresh Derrick Henry coming back in Tennessee. I think Ryan Tannehill makes just a couple of bigger throws, and I think Joe Burrow gets just slightly exposed for being in a game as basically a rookie to be in this spot. It's a big moment. We love Joe Burrow. Tennessee wins by 7 and covers the 3.5.
Well, I hope you're right for the pros picks, but I like the Bengals
I'm
here, and
pulling for Cincy.
I'm like they may be a year away, but they remind me of the Cowboys of the early '90s. Quarterback, running back, receivers. I'm telling you, that's the feeling I'm getting. They still could be a year away.
They're the best young team in the NFL. Trust me. I hate this pick, but it's strictly financial.
All right, Packers hosting San Francisco, who upset the Cowboys. We already talked about that. Packers giving 5.5. That's a pretty big number.
5.5, and get on it when you watch this. Please get on it now. It's already moved to 6 right now. I think it's going to move closer to 7, possibly 7.5 before tip on Saturday night. It's going to go that direction. And what I can't figure out, Bob, we've got all these experts saying, the Dallas had the better roster against San Francisco. Yet San Francisco upset them. But you're telling me if that's the truth. Now San Francisco still has a good enough roster to travel to Lambeau Field in prime time, 0 degrees, and play with Aaron Rodgers.
Garoppolo's not going to be able to
They
do it.
just don't. Right, A-Rod. This is going to be the easiest play of the week. Green Bay wins by 14, definitely by more than 7. We'll even avoid the last-second touchdown backdoor. Green Bay's going to get up 14 to 17 points. Ride this baby into the sunset. The Packers advance and cover the spread.
All right, Buccaneers hosting the Rams. Buccaneers giving 2.5. Can the Rams do it again? I mean, the Buccaneers, Tom Brady's missing some people, but he is Tom Brady.
He is Tom Brady, and more importantly, they are at home. I'm not going to overreact to the Rams win on Monday night. We lost that game. We played the Cardinals. They didn't show up. I'm still not sold on the Rams. Their last 10 games of the year, they didn't beat anybody by much except Houston and Jacksonville. Look, Stafford's in a big moment as well. Tom Brady's been there. He's done that, as they say. We're going to ride Tom Brady. If you can get the line at 2.5, I really like it. 3, still play it. We're going to ride the Tampa Bay Bucks at home. They win by 7 to 10. It'll be competitive, but Brady's going to figure out a way to get it done. Stafford makes a costly pick second half. I think it's going to put Tampa Bay over the top.
All right, look for Brady and the Bucks to move on. I saw an interesting stat this weekend. You may have saw it too. They flashed it up. Tom Brady has 20 more playoff wins than all of the other quarterbacks combined.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh my God.
And he's also older than all the other coaches in the NFC.
All right, Bills traveling to Kansas City. Bills getting 2 points, and you love the Buffalo Mafia.
I've been waiting on this moment all year, Bob. You know I've been against Kansas City. If anybody that watches Huddle Up, you know that I don't think the Chiefs are for real. They've made it this far, but their season's going to come to an end, unfortunately. Josh Allen, circle the wagons, baby. It's his time. It's his year. Look for the Bills to really throttle job the Chiefs. And I say that it will be a ball game, but the Bills win by 7 to 10. They're underdogs. They win outright and move on to the AFC Championship game.
It seems like every year a visiting team wins this weekend. You know,
Some people say not to overreact. But we're overreacting because I'm going to tell you, this guy is on a heat check. He scores every possession against arguably the best defensive coach in NFL history in Bill Belichick. look out for the Buffalo Bills because they're feeling it right now.
It is going to be fun. The weather's going to be cold there. The weather's going to be frigid in Green Bay. It's probably going to be cold in Nashville. It's going to be some football weather.
It's the way it's supposed to be, except in Tampa Bay. But 3 of them are going to be cold.
They're going to be really cold. All right, we'll keep an eye on all the NFL action. We'll keep an eye on the Rockets win total. We will be back next week with more Huddle Up. Man, this was a fun show. Good stuff.
Absolutely. And a couple quick shout-outs. American Underdog, the Kurt Warner movie I went and saw. Check that out. And also, Joe Montana's got a documentary on the Peacock Network that I started watching as well. If you're a big Montana fan, which I was, check that out. And everybody have a great week. Let's enjoy the football this weekend.
All right, that's it for this edition of Huddle Up. I'm Bob Slovak for Jason Alexander. We'll see you here next week.